hit your head, do it again, and again. I didn't say stop. So you want to understand the words of the second Buddha? Well, you're not alone. There are commentaries, Dharma talks, courses, etc. on Nagarjuna's Middle Way that range from free to pricey. Even people who aren't into the heady aspects of Buddhism feel like they need to understand him on some basic level, which kind of makes sense because by implication, you could argue that he's advocating for their means of practice. If money isn't a factor, then it's participation in tight-knit communities that are nice to be a part of, but not everybody is. And the reason for all this? He's really, really hard. I know that the opening joke was a little much, but that is how it feels going in blind for the first time. Some of it is just missing context or just not being familiar with the genre. Also, I think it's common for people to focus on a specific tradition and then read that into Nagarjuna when it really should be the other way around. So anyway, this is Bonbu-Buddy's cost-effective tips for understanding Nagarjuna's Middle Way. Keeping it simple, this is an idiot. He takes the idiot bus. Why is it called the idiot bus? Because it never shows up at the right time, the right place, and you're pretty sure the driver doesn't know what he's doing. And the idiot keeps getting fired for showing up late, if at all. When the idiot is on time, he's moody and a little hungover from dealing with all this. If the idiot did these things this way, he wouldn't have to go through all this, or at least he'd have an easier time of things. That's probably not the best allegory, but it's my best attempt at a vaguely Abhidharma, non-sectarian approach to what we're doing here. Point being, keep these things in mind and others like it, and the text will be easier to understand. One of the reasons for the missing context is that Nagarjuna is arguing with various traditions of early Buddhism, and the text itself doesn't really make it clear who that is. That's why I recommend the Mark Siedritz and Shoryu Kitsura's translation. It includes a pretty extensive commentary, and there's plenty of room in the margin for notes if you so choose to do that. But if you want to have an easier time, I'd suggest getting to know who Nagarjuna is arguing with beforehand. And if you really want to go the extra mile, I would suggest looking into the early Buddhist schools that Nagarjuna seems to be in agreement with. If you really want to get the legwork in, you could look up the Brahmanical or Vedic traditions, what we would today call Hinduism, that Nagarjuna seems to be interacting with in the text. And outside of some really good interfaith dialogue, it sort of also provides a blueprint of sorts for how Buddhist apologetics is supposed to work, focusing on ideas, not personal traumas. But Bonbu-Buddy, what if I have to reword the complicated ideas in order to comprehend them? Or I want to remember certain ideas, and there's not enough room in the margins? Good question, Bad Buddy. So, you can buy spiral notebooks at Walmart or most department stores for like $1 each. You can even write down how Nagarjuna's arguments can be used in your daily life, like debunking bad arguments, among other things. There's no reason his mic drops can't be your mic drops. I would strictly devote said notebook to Nagarjuna's Middle Way. There are Buddhist works worthy of the same consideration, especially the ones that are a lot harder than the ones we're talking about today. What I'm saying is, don't use it for anything else. And don't worry about the things you write being useful or not. The point here is to engage with the text as much as possible. Another good thing to read before the Middle Way would be The Awakening of Faith in the Mahayana, attributed to Asvagosha. I say it's attributed because we don't have direct evidence of his authorship. This is a work with a similar amount of influence to the Middle Way when it comes to Mahayana and or East Asian Buddhism. And even though they're thought to have contributed to and taken influence from very different traditions, they're both trying to sell you on what would later come to be called Mahayana Buddhism. The Awakening of Faith in most ways is easier to understand than the Middle Way. It's dealing with similar ideas, it's also not that long if you're focusing on the main text, and it provides a contrasting context for Nagarjuna's place in the development of Mahayana Buddhism. I would especially compare Nagarjuna's Two Truths doctrine to Asvagosha's One Mind, Two Aspects. Are they talking about the same thing? You tell me, but you'll see what I'm getting at. Also, I'd check this out right here as well. Good question, Naruto buddy. What if you don't want to do any of that stuff at all? I'd say read chapter 13, try to get it, then start the book. If you want an easier time getting it, I would look up Buddhaghosa's Chariot. Yeah, Bonbu-Buddy, we don't want to do all that. Why does everything gotta have homework? Look, that's the best I can do. So those are my tips. Somebody with actual authority may not care for it that much, but I'd like to think it's better than tripping out and seeing what flies out. So, not underselling the benefits of the middle way, the reason to study Nagarjuna isn't to sound like a Buddhist, but to think like one. And that is not to be attained by means of another, free, not populated by hypostatization, devoid of falsifying conception, not having many separate meanings. This is the nature of reality. There are still going to be things to wrap your head around, and setting aside time in order to get it is a must when reading the middle way. But once you do, you'll find that the path followed is not the path traversed or imagined. Hey everybody, I hope you had a wonderful time with the video. Just want to wish everybody happy Chinese New Year, and just remember, Namo Amida Butz.